So, good morning. My name is Fernand Kartajs. I'm a member of the European Parliament. I'm currently here in Russia, in Sochi, at the BRICS Europe conference. And we have here the immense pleasure also to have people from India, from China, from many other places. And this morning, a gentleman from India, Mr. Madhav, if I pronounce correctly, made a fantastic speech actually in order to also present a little bit India's perspective on what happens in the world, on geopolitics and on Russia, and generally also on economic relations. So it is an opportunity, I think, for us to hear also India's point of view now here on our social media. Mr. Madhav, when you just came from India, you told me, you are the president of the India Foundation. What is this India Foundation doing in general?
India Foundation is a New Delhi-based think tank which focuses largely on India's foreign policy, strategic relations, and security issues. These three areas are our focus areas. We host a number of different conferences. We have a large number of partners with whom we have bilateral engagements, largely focusing on these three areas. We see that in the newly evolving world, India has a very important role to play. India has the potential, and we have a leadership which is very strong and very visionary like leadership. We would like to support the government and its initiatives in taking this vision forward.
Would you say that India is an emerging superpower? I mean, we are very impressed, of course, in the West to see the economic success, to see also scientific success, India on the moon. We know that you have expanded your military and you're buying, not buying, but constructing yourself the aircraft carriers and so on. So you are really a very powerful country. Is India now an emerging superpower? And how do you see India's role in the Indo-Pacific in the future?
India is a very religious country, so we are not very comfortable with terms like superpower and all that. But definitely, India is rising as an important economic and deep tech power. Economically, India is doing extremely well. In the last 10 years, we have doubled our GDP. We are a $4.3 trillion economy today, aspiring to become a $10 trillion economy in next 15 years. The trajectory suggests that it is not impossible for India. At the same time, India has been, for last many decades, an IT strong power, a strong power in IT. Based on that strength, we are now making major strides in deep tech areas, in artificial intelligence, in robotics, in quantum. In all these areas, India is growing. We are also investing heavily together with support from other countries in defense tech area. There also we are developing. In that sense, India will be definitely a very important power in the world in the coming days. We will be definitely the third largest economy in the world. But more importantly, when India rises, it's not just about its economy or its military or anything. Its value system.
Yeah.
It comes with a particular vision for the world. That is what we feel will be more important to offer to the world for us.
I think we should also focus very much on the respect among nations, mutual respect and understanding. I think these words must again be at the forefront of our approach to international politics. Now, we as in the European Union and the United States have developed something that we call secondary sanctions. And I imagine that, and India, of course, is targeted because India is still an important trade partner also for Russia. And so these secondary sanctions are really a mean to put pressure on you, political pressure, economic pressure. How do you perceive that in India? Is that something that you feel offending and illegitimate? Or how is your attitude towards our approach in that matter?
We always opposed sanctions of any kind against any country. It's true that today we have been subjected to certain sanctions by America essentially. But then before us, for last many years and in couple of decades, so many other countries have been subjected to different kinds of sanctions. We always said that sanctions really affect not just the governments of those countries. The ordinary people, man on the street is suffering. Whether it is Iran, whether it is Russia, whether it is any other country. I was in Minsk a few days ago. we subjected Minsk to very harsh sanctions. The only fault of Minsk being to be seen as close to Russia. I mean, this is a very unjust system.
Yes.
You cannot use multilateral institutions unilaterally to punish countries in the name of sanctions. But coming to India's case, India follows what is called strategic autonomy. It's a very strong conviction with us that what is in India's interest will be decided by India only. No other country has the right to come and tell us, you do this, you don't do that. So sovereign, right of a country must be respected by everybody. India is a big country; nobody can browbeat us. Countries try to put pressure on us, use its sanctions and other things, but India strictly adheres to its principle of sovereign, strategic autonomy. We have friendships with many countries in the world. Those friendships are guided by our domestic interests, but also what we see as in the interest of the world. We don't want to be guided in those matters by some big powers just because they are big and powerful.
But this also relates to a subject that I think is very close to your heart, that is this understanding of the concept of multipolarity. So you're also insisting on this. How do you see now the world changing from maybe Western hegemony to multipolarity? And how do you see the role of India in this new multipolar framework?
Last 20 years have clearly shown that the, the West in general, the US in particular, has declined in its authority. I'm not at all suggesting that it will disappear. The US as an economic power, technological power will remain. So is Europe. But today, they are not the only powers in the world. There are multiple countries which are rising as important countries in their respective regions. Then there are groups of countries coming together. For example, BRICS is an important grouping. Similarly, in my region, we have BIMSTEC, we have ASEAN. So in today's world is driven by multiple power centers, sometimes minilaters, sometimes individual countries. India is an important country, China is an important country, so is Russia, so is Indonesia. So this realization has to be there. Unfortunately, I'm afraid countries, leaders like, some Western leaders are still not ready to accept that reality. They still want some kind of a domination, some kind of an authoritarian regime to continue. I think those days are over now. It's a world where multiple powers will have an important role to play. We should welcome it. We have to build a multilateral institutional mechanism. It should be different from the current UN mechanism, but this new mechanism should give space to all these multiple power centers, whether it is groups or individual countries.
Well, that is very challenging. I don't know whether
I want to add here, since
Yes.
you said it's challenging, may I remind you that when League of Nations was created in 1919,
Yes.
Woodrow Wilson had great plans for it. And in 2 decades' time, the world realized that the League of Nations was not working. But there were two statesmen at that time, Winston Churchill and Frederick Roosevelt, FDR and Churchill, together decided League of Nations is not working, let us build a new mechanism.
Yes.
Why are we today short of such statesmen?
But that I think that you have already plenty of ideas, at least it seems so to me. But maybe the last question is, since you are putting in doubt a little bit also the functioning of the United Nations, then my question is, what is that a reform that you want perhaps of the Security Council, or is it a whole new set of arrangements in order to have a family of nations?
May I ask that the whole argument about reform, did it begin now? This reform demand has been going on for not less than 20 years. Why are we not able to reform it? Because that institution has become beyond reform. You have to have the courage to think afresh. Having said it, yes, if reform is possible, you can bring in genuine multilateralism. Most welcome. Is UN representing real multilateralism? May I tell you, in the UN, in the last 70 years, Russia, Soviet Union, and current Russia used veto for 160 times. US used it for 115 times. Some countries used for 90 times. You can't take any decisions. So you have a mechanism which is not delivering, not functioning. You still want to reform it? Yes. You need that determination to reform it. Otherwise, think of a new institutional framework.
Well, I'm really impressed, and I'm happy also to hear, and I think that many people will hear with interest these views, because it's like a wake-up call. I think for us in the West, let's try to reform, and if not, well, we have to face new realities in the world. Dear Mr. Madhav, I'm very grateful for these explanations. I wish you all the best. I know that tomorrow you will be in Luxembourg. Be welcome, and I hope that we can continue our dialogue very soon. Thank you very much. Thank you.